going to stand back. No, I'm not going to stand back here.
That's not what we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so I actually don't really know Patty at all, which is good because I'm going to be asking her some questions, and we will all get to know Patty together. But when I want to get to know someone, I usually Google them. Anyone else Google people that they don't know and are meeting? So in my research, I Googled Patty, and we are in for a treat, let me tell you.
Oh boy.
I went to pattylarson.com. USA Today best-selling, international, multiple award-winning author Patty Larson. From young adult paranormal to horror, post-apocalyptic dystopia, cozy murder mysteries, and more, Patty Larson's tales of witches, vampires, and demon cats will have you begging for more. That's you, right?
That's me. Yeah.
Is
No,
it really?
No, no,
Oh.
no, no. No, it's not.
It's not you. Dang.
Sounds like an interesting Patty, though.
The book that I bought to get signed was a waste of money.
Unfortunately.
Dang. Okay, so before we get into the meat, I like to do some icebreakers. And so how this works, if you've seen me do this before, I ask a bunch of rapid-fire questions that you don't have time to really think about. You just need to give me the answer, okay?
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So the first subsection here is getting to know you. Is Patty short for Patricia?
Yes.
Do you like your name?
Yes.
What's your middle name?
Jane.
How many siblings do you have?
2.
Are you married?
Yes.
What's your husband's middle name?
John.
What's your anniversary date?
November 28th.
What animal are you most like?
I don't know.
What just popped into your head? What animal?
A bear?
That's good. It's kind of scary, but
Right.
good.
But they're cuddly. I don't know. They're
Yeah.
friendly. I don't know. Yeah.
Cuddly bear. Okay. And the last one in this section, what karaoke song are you best at? What's the song that popped into your
Eric? I
head?
don't know. I don't know. If You Leave. There you go.
Taylor, do we have that one? You cue it up. All right, so now we're gonna
Don't
go.
want to
Into,
hear me sing. Yeah.
We're gonna go into favorites. What's your least favorite color?
I was going to say black. Here, I'm wearing it.
It's obviously not black.
Obviously not. Yellow.
Okay, wow. What's your favorite season?
Fall.
Do you like movies?
Yes.
What's your favorite movie?
Pretty Women.
Nice. Do you read books?
I listen to audiobooks.
What's the best audiobook you've listened to lately?
Oh, these are good. I'm like freezing as to what it is that I just listened to. Actually, I like to listen or read books that have to do with personal growth. So, The Art of Asking Questions.
Nice.
Yeah.
She's grading me right now. I can feel it. Would you rather have the ability to fly or be invisible?
Be invisible.
Live by the ocean or a cabin in the mountains?
Ocean.
Travel to the past or the future?
Future.
Own a rhino the size of a hamster or a hamster the size of a rhino?
That's good. Rhino the size of a hamster?
Would you rather be answering these questions right now or sitting out there?
Sitting out there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She's pretty good. That was good. All right, let's get into more about who you actually are, and your. I guess we'll start maybe at the beginning, sort of. Tell me about your childhood and specifically about like faith and God and spirituality in your home when you were a young child.
Yeah, that's good. So I was born into a Christian home, raised, with a Christian mother and father. However, being a Christian, being a Christ follower doesn't exempt us from hurt and a lot of struggles. And so my faith started very, very young, and it's beautiful to see how God works because I had no idea what my life was going to look like moving forward. But at 4 years old, I remember praying and asking Jesus to come into my heart because I remember the stories, listening in Sunday school about a love so deep that I just wanted that, a love of Jesus. And so that's where my faith journey began.
Nice, very nice. So you went to church?
Yes.
What kind of church? Can you describe the churches you went to?
Yeah. When at home with my family, we attended Baptist church, which were very conservative. You definitely wouldn't have a lady sitting up on the up here, so that was something different. So for me to be here right now, that's huge. So it was very very conservative, but there were. I remember having Sunday school teachers who loved children deeply, and that's, I think, something that stood out to me a lot.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, in my Googling, I think this is true. I think you were an associate pastor at the Meeting House.
Yes, I was.
So, can you tell me how you got from a kid in a Baptist church to the Meeting House doing ministry there?
How long do we have? Wow, there's so much life that has that went from that 4-year-old girl sitting in the back of my car while my dad's driving to fast forwarding, now going back 2 years. God has instilled in me the passion to love others. He has given me a desire for various church ministry. When I thought that I was ready for certain things, he very much showed me not now, not now, not now. And so, through growing up, as a teenager, I wanted to be a Sunday school teacher. And so I started, I was a Sunday school teacher, worked in the nursery, I was a small group leader in youth, I was a youth coordinator. I feel like God had opened up so many different, different ministry things at different times in my life. And so, doing youth coordinating, then being a youth pastor, then being an associate pastor, and he's brought me through so many things. So how did I get there? I was, like I said, I was in a Baptist church for most of our life. My husband, Eric, and I, we attended one church in particular with our children for a number of years. And we just felt a stirring. I guess God was just working in our hearts, saying it's time to move on to something different. It's time, your season here is over. It's time to move on. And so we had a friend, or we had friends who said, "Hey, why don't you come join us at the Meeting House?" Some of you may know what the Meeting House is. It's a Brethren in Christ denomination. They are a church that had 18 different sites. The main site was in Oakville. So just to kind of give you a background as to what that looked like. And they met in a theater. So it's first off, you're going to a theater on Sunday morning. This is a thing, right? And so that was strange. And I was also used to dressing in my nicest clothes, going to church, which is different. And then I got to this theater where people were not wearing their, dress clothes, etc., jeans. They just came as they were. And then the pastor was not wearing a suit, and so this was really strange. But in sitting in that service, I felt God in such a beautiful, beautiful way. And so that started our 15-year journey within the Meeting House. Eric and I both led in different capacities, but I just felt God calling me deeper into various ministry. And so we went, there's just so many pieces, so I could ramble and go on forever, but God has just opened up doors in different ways in different seasons in life. I worked for the school board for 15 years and with children with mental health and behavioral needs, and I thought that I was called into that. And then one day it felt like he was saying, I want you to trust me and leave that, and I want you to go into full-time ministry. So my full-time ministry started as a youth pastor, and I was a youth pastor for, there's about 250 youth, and I oversaw 50 youth leaders. So it was like, wow, like it's huge. It was very overwhelming. I'm like, I am not qualified for this. But boy, did I see God work. And so I think that that's where that journey kind of like started as to, okay, what's my next step? That role came to an end for me, and then I was called into associate pastor with the Meeting House over COVID.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So earlier you said growing up in a Christian home, being born in a Christian home, it's not, it doesn't mean that everything is just like perfect from day one. I do want to ask you a bit more about your experience at Meeting House, COVID, and then of course anyone who knows the Meeting House or Bruxy Cavey has seen some drama happen, and church hurt can be some of the worst hurt. And so I mean, you share what you can or want to share, but I just wonder with your journey through your ministry, the challenges that you faced, and yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll go back to your question regarding being brought up in a Christian home, and I won't share all of the pieces, but in general, or just an overview. One of my parents struggled with significant mental health, which then led to about 25 years of addiction, which caused, there was a lot of hurt. There was a lot of hurt. And so me being a middle child, I was very much the one trying to put all the pieces together, wanting to make sure that my family stayed together, had confusion as to like, God, I know you're there, but why are you allowing these hurtful things to happen? And so that leads me to prayer. I am a full believer in prayer. I believe that God answers prayer. The answer is not always yes. It's not always in the timing in which we are asking of that prayer. I prayed for my parent for 25 years before he answered that prayer my parent is free of addiction and a beautiful, beautiful soul. And I think that they're a picture of God's grace. Such a beautiful, beautiful picture. Sorry. I remember, again, so many hardships, and then being in church. I remember going, I don't know about you, maybe all your families are lovely and you don't have those like little bickers here and there, and on your way to church and you're like, get ready, and you have those arguments in the car. But I remember a lot of Sundays where it was really bad before going into church. But the minute we opened that car door and people could see us, we were the perfect family. And God knows that that wasn't the case. And there's very few people that I've brought into those moments so that they can see the difficulties and challenges that our family had. But in the church, bringing it back to churches and church hurt, it was not looked fondly upon to talk about the negativities and the hurt that are happening in the home. And so now I fast forward to my years of my desire to work within church ministry is to encourage others and encourage people that God asks us to come as we are. God doesn't ask us to be the perfect person. He doesn't ask us to be the perfect anything, because nobody is perfect, right? And so my ministry has been, and when I talk with people, when I ask you how you are, I really mean, how are you? Because we often have the, I'm fine, I'm good, things are good, and we have those rote answers, but people hurt. And people need somebody to be able to talk to, and I believe that church is where it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So, as you today, even with the difficulties that you might face, I sense that you have a very strong faith. How are ways that you pursue God, sense God's love? Can you describe that?
Yeah, I feel like my faith is very childlike. It's very basic. It's like, I know that Jesus was born of a virgin. I know that he died on the cross, right? I know that he came to wipe away sins, and he wants me to live with him, right? Like, my faith is basic. And so when I look at that and I think of who Jesus is and what he's done in my life, and I'm going to go back to the question of like church hurt, I have experienced an enormous amount of church hurt over the years, where we look at pastors supposed to be holding these, they're supposed to know better. They're supposed to, we look up to them, we seek them for spiritual advice, and yet I have encountered many pastors not doing as God has asked them to do. And so when I think of that, I'm going to talk about my faith. I have, Eric and I have 2 children, Danielle and Caleb. They're my world. They're young adults. It's so hard to believe. I can't, but our daughter's 24, our son is 22. And I've had to, walk through with them hurts within the church as well. Hurts within people who are supposed to know better. People are supposed to, sorry, gets me emotional. Because our children, God gave us a gift of children, and children are supposed to be protected, right? And we're supposed to know better. And so when I think of my faith journey, and I hope that, and my kids are not here right now, but I hope that they can look and say, like, my mom was a person of faith. She spent time with Jesus in conversation, and she tried to live a life of showing people Jesus' love. Because when we look at we've mentioned the Meeting House in Brexy KV as one, and I don't want to speak ill of anybody, because those only it's between the person and God, and whatever truth is, God will have that. But on the outskirts, those hurts have impacted my children in a huge way, which impacts me in a huge way. And what my reminder is that people are human and they make mistakes, but our God is perfect. Right? Our God is perfect. Our God is loving. And he asks us to live a way, but there is sin in the world. The reality is, like, there is, people are always going to make mistakes. And so God is a God of grace, and so we need to be graceful when we interact with people. It's easy for us to judge on the outside because we only see superficially, but I believe that God is the one who sees our hearts, right? And so that is something that I have shared, not only with my children, but people that I interact with who have experienced hurt, is that people are always going to hurt, and we're damaged. Yeah.
And God works through those things. Yeah. He works in them. How are you seeing God at work now?
Oh, in so many ways. So many ways. It's when Rick asked me if I would come and either speak or be interviewed, and I was like, no. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? There are so many things that I would love to share as to where I see God at work. Eric and I, we moved here in COVID. What a wonderful time to move and start a new life. with new community. It's been really challenging, but I think that he has just opened up so many beautiful, beautiful things. So I currently work in child welfare. I must say, I see a lot of hurt and a lot of darkness, but in those moments, I also see God's grace, and I see God at work. And yeah, a couple stories even just, I'll speak on some of my coworkers and my colleagues that I've been able to interact with. And I'm not the kind of person who's like necessarily that evangelist who's going to knock on your door and give you flyers. That's not who God created me to be, but I am one who loves to listen to people's stories. And I feel honored when people share their stories with me. And I also believe that your story is your story to tell, and it's not my story, but thank you for including me in on that. And so that's my posture when I meet people. And so I have two coworkers who I very much believe that that's where God has called me into this job for my coworkers. And I remember the day I met one, and she had so much to share, and I had never met this person. Like, she just like let out her whole life, and then she's like, "Oh shoot, who are you? And are you going to share my story?" And so we've since become quite good friends, and just watching how God has worked within her life. Another one who is going through lots of challenges. And I'm just listening, right? And so I listen to her story without judgment because it's her story. And I always pray that, like, God, like, help me be the light. Help me, if there is something that you want me to share, help me be able to share that. And it's really exciting to see that this, my one friend, she's excited to learn about Jesus. And so I've given her the Right Now Media. Here's a plug for that devotional site. It is beautiful. So I gave her that, and she's super excited to do studies with me, and we chat about it at work, before work, and such. And so I'm like, God just gives you opportunities, and you don't necessarily have to look for it. Just be open.
Beauty. As we wrap up, I think there's our timer going off now. How would you encourage our community?
I encourage you to just be the light in a dark world, right? It does go into your day knowing that God has you. Whatever you're going through, know that God has a plan for you, that He loves you beyond anything you can fathom. Again, through work, I've seen, and in my own life, I've seen such darkness and so much hurt, but God never fails. So when you are low, when you're lonely, look to God. And when you're feeling that your cup is overflowing, then reach out to somebody else.
Beauty. Patty, we're so glad you're part of our community. Can we give Patty a hand? At Lighthouse, we like to, we love to share our stories, and I think this is so cool. So thank you for giving us this space to hear from Patty and hear a little bit about her. PattyLarson.com. You should buy a book. No, after the service, you should chat with Patty and just give her some encouragement as well. We just really appreciate this. So I'm gonna invite the band back up, and while we come up, I am part of the band actually. So as I make my way back there, will you pray for us?
Absolutely. All right, dear God, I thank you for who you are, Lord. Lord, I thank you that you allow us to come to you just as we are. That you don't ask us to put on our best clothes. That you invite us just as we are, in our brokenness, in our hurt, in our messy situations. Lord, you love us beyond, and I thank you for that. And Lord, I pray that if there's anyone here today who is feeling that they just needed that reminder. Lord, I pray that you just wrap your arms around them and give them that hope and peace, and knowing that you love them beyond and you are here for them, Lord, and you are doing life with them.